The ground beneath your feet can rise by 10 meters in a single afternoon. It can crack open and swallow entire cities whole. And when it stops, the civilization that stood there for 800 years is simply gone. This happened in 365 AD. We have the eyewitness accounts. And what they describe is worse than anything modern geology predicted. On July 21, 365 AD, at sunrise, the Mediterranean seafloor lurched upward. The earthquake registered an estimated 8.5 on the Richter scale. Its epicenter was 40 kilometers west of the island of Crete. The entire western half of the island rose by 10 meters in an instant. The uplift was so sudden that ships at sea saw the seafloor exposed. Fish were left flopping on dry land where deep water had been moments before. Then the water rushed back. The resulting tsunami struck Alexandria, the largest city in the Roman Empire at the time. It had a population of 500,000 people. The wave reached a height of 15 meters. It traveled 3 kilometers inland. It carried ships over the walls of the city. The Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus wrote that ships were deposited on the rooftops of houses. 5,000 people died in Alexandria alone. Thousands more died along the entire eastern Mediterranean coastline. The tsunami destroyed the port of Alexandria beyond repair. The city's economy never fully recovered. But the true victim was the Minoan civilization. Crete was the heartland of the Minoans, the oldest advanced civilization in Europe. They had ruled the Mediterranean for 2,000 years. They built the Palace of Knossos, which covered 20,000 square meters with 1,300 rooms. They had running water, flush toilets, and the first paved roads in Europe. The 365 AD earthquake destroyed every Minoan city on the island. The tsunami wiped out their coastal settlements and fishing fleets. Within 2 generations, the Minoan language disappeared entirely. Their script, Linear A, remains undeciphered to this day. An entire civilization that had thrived for 2 millennia was erased in a single morning. Second disaster. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD is famous for burying Pompeii. But it was not Vesuvius that destroyed the most prosperous city in the Roman Empire. It was Mount Etna. In 122 BC, Etna erupted with a force that makes Vesuvius look like a firecracker. The eruption produced a pyroclastic flow that traveled 25 kilometers from the summit. It reached the city of Catania in under 10 minutes. The flow was 300 degrees Celsius and moved at 100 meters per second. Every living thing in its path was instantly carbonized. The city walls, 6 meters thick, did not slow it down. Catania was the wealthiest city on the island of Sicily. It had 200,000 residents, a thriving Greek colony that had stood for 500 years. The city's architecture rivaled Athens. Its port handled grain shipments that fed half of Rome. The pyroclastic flow buried the entire city under 5 meters of ash and rock. The heat was so intense that marble statues turned to lime. Bronze objects melted. Not a single structure remained standing. The Roman Senate voted to exempt Catania from all taxes for 10 years. But no one was left alive to collect taxes anyway. The city was abandoned for 300 years. When it was finally rebuilt, not a trace of the original Greek city remained above ground. Archaeologists today have excavated less than 5% of the buried Greek city beneath modern Catania. Third. The Akkadian Empire was the first empire in human history. It ruled Mesopotamia from 2334 BC to 2154 BC. It controlled 1 million square kilometers from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. Its founder, Sargon of Akkad, conquered 34 cities in a single military campaign. The empire lasted 180 years. Then it collapsed in the space of a single generation. The reason was not war. It was dust. Climate scientists have reconstructed what happened using ice cores from Greenland and sediment cores from the Persian Gulf. Around 2200 BC, a 300-year drought began. Rainfall in Mesopotamia dropped by 40%. The Tigris and Euphrates rivers fell to 20% of their normal flow. The agricultural system that supported 1 million people collapsed. Crop yields fell by 80%. Food prices rose 600%. The Akkadian government tried to intervene by centralizing grain distribution. It only made things worse. Regional governors rebelled. The empire fractured into 20 warring city-states. Archaeological evidence from the site of Tel Leilon in modern Syria shows the moment of collapse. The city was abandoned in a hurry. Grain storage rooms were found half empty. Administrative tablets were left on shelves. A layer of wind-blown dust 1 meter thick covers the entire site. There are no signs of battle. No fire. No looting. The people simply walked away. The entire region was depopulated by 95%. It did not recover for 1,000 years. The Akkadian language, Akkadian religion, and Akkadian law all vanished. The first empire in history was destroyed by a changing climate. And it happened in less than 30 years. Fourth disaster. The Toba supereruption happened 74,000 years ago in what is now Sumatra, Indonesia. It was the largest volcanic eruption in the last 2 million years. It ejected 2,800 cubic kilometers of material into the atmosphere. For comparison, Mount St. Helens ejected 1 cubic kilometer. The eruption was 2,800 times larger. The explosion was heard 4,000 kilometers away. Ashfall covered an area the size of the continental United States. The ash layer in India is 6 meters thick. The entire Indian subcontinent was buried under volcanic ash. The environmental effects were catastrophic. Global temperatures dropped by 5 degrees Celsius for 6 years. The volcanic winter lasted a decade. 75% of all plant species in Southeast Asia went extinct. The human population was reduced to between 3,000 and 10,000 breeding individuals. Every human alive today descends from this tiny surviving population. Genetic evidence from mitochondrial DNA shows a clear bottleneck at exactly this time period. The entire human species came within a hair of extinction. The Toba catastrophe theory proposes that the eruption triggered a 1,000-year ice age within the ongoing glacial period. Lake Toba, the caldera that remains today, is 100 kilometers long, 30 kilometers wide, and 500 meters deep. It is the largest volcanic lake on Earth. The eruption column reached 50 kilometers into the stratosphere. That is twice the height of the cruising altitude of a commercial jet. Sulfur dioxide levels in the atmosphere increased by 1,000 times normal. It took 20 years for the atmosphere to return to normal. And when it did, the world was a different place. The humans who survived carried the genetic memory of near extinction in our DNA. Fifth and most terrifying. The Bronze Age collapse of 1177 BC destroyed every major civilization around the Mediterranean in 50 years. The Hittite Empire fell first. Then Mycenae. Then the Kingdom of Ugarit. The Cypriot kingdoms. The Canaanite city-states. The Egyptian New Kingdom was severely weakened. Every city from Greece to Egypt was burned, abandoned, or reduced to rubble. International trade stopped completely. Writing systems disappeared. Literacy rates in Greece fell from approximately 10% of the population to effectively zero. The Greek Dark Ages began, lasting 400 years. What caused it was not one disaster but 6. Earthquakes. Archaeological evidence shows that a major earthquake swarm hit the eastern Mediterranean between 1225 and 1175 BC. At least 50 cities show evidence of earthquake damage within this 50-year window. The seismic activity was unprecedented in the historical record. Then came the droughts. Tree ring data from Anatolia shows a severe drought lasting 300 years starting around 1200 BC. The Hittite Empire, which depended on grain imports, collapsed during this drought. Their last king wrote letters begging for food from Egypt. The letters were never answered. Then came the Sea Peoples. A confederation of 5 tribes attacked from the sea. The Egyptians recorded their names.